But if you like this, oh, what? I broke. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with some book recommendations. So as I'm sure you could tell by the title, thumbnail, all of the fun stuff, for this video we are going to be doing another If You Like This, Then You'll Like This book recommendation. So I've got 6 pairings to show you today. This is kind of a staple here on BookTube. I feel like a lot of booktubers have done many versions of these. I've done one, I believe it was sometime last year. I'll leave a link above if you'd like to check it out. But here's just a few more in like the past year and a half or so of reading that I really think if you like one, then you're gonna like the other. But without further ado, let's just dive on in. The first book pairing, if you will, is if you like The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, then I think you're going to like the 39 Clues series by multiple authors, but this one in particular is by Rick Riordan. So these are both mysteries and they're both surrounding younger people who are stuck in the middle of adult craziness. So in this one we follow our main character Avery, and she is struggling to trying to really make ends meet, help her sister out because she is a high school student, so trying to help out where she can, and she gets this random letter that she has inherited the entirety of the wealth of this guy from the Hawthorne family. So she goes to said will reading, discovers that she's got everything, and is trying to figure out why. So this one is a lot of like, I know I say this every time, everyone who talks about this book says that this reminds them of the Knives Out movie. I think it's very true. And we have the 39 Clues, which follows 2 siblings, and I can't remember their names, Amy and Dan. And they're part of this huge family of explorers and people who do great things, but they're thought of as the like lowly relatives, the American relatives that like no one really wants around, and the only one who really cared about them just passed away. So this book primarily starts at the reading of the will, where everyone is given either $1 million or the chance to be part of this I don't know, riddle, I just like this adventure to try to figure out like the mystery from this family. And there's going to be 39 clues, and this is just the first installment. And so our twins, I think they're twins, maybe they're not twins, but our brother and sister duo decide to take part in the adventure. So these definitely have that, you know, trying to find the answer. There's been some sort of will reading where they've been given this chance or given like the opportunity to have a lot of money, and their adventure to figure out what's going on. So this is a middle grade book. This is a YA book, but they do have very similar vibes to them, and I think that if you like one, then you're definitely going to enjoy the other. The next one is for my historical romance people out there. I know that I've been reading quite a lot more in like the last year or so. So if you like I think this is the 5th Bridgerton book, which is To Sir Philip with Love, you will also enjoy The Governess Game by Tessa Dare. This is the 5th book in the series. It follows our main character Eloise, who is the 5th sibling, and she is, because of some things that have happened in her life, she eventually just kind of like pieces out and goes to this guy's house named Sir Philip, who's actually a cousin of theirs by marriage, and she goes to kind of check him out. They've been talking for about a year. They've been sending letters back and forth, and he suggests that she come and see if they are compatible, and so she takes him up on that. So what's her adventure? Getting there, discovering that he actually has 2 kids, and just a lot of stuff that surrounds that. And then we have The Governess Game, and this one follows our main character Alex, who was mistaken to, she comes to this house to basically like wind the clocks, and she's mistaken by the Duke to be the next possible governess. So he interviews her assuming that she's going to be the governess, and when everything is straightened out, he still offers her the job. And so she is the governess for 2 young girls who are harder to handle. They're a little bit of tricksters at times, and he's just having her, you know, get to know them, take care of them for him, because his plan is to eventually send them off to boarding school. So I think that these are very, very similar because you've got different situations, but you do have this female protagonist who comes in, really understands these kids, and makes the male protagonist kind of rethink a few things in their lives, and also romance stories. But they both have very strong-willed women in them as well, and I honestly I love Tessa Dare, I love Julia Quinn, and I think that these two have a lot in common. The next pairing is a little bizarre, and it's mostly vibe, like the vibes of the story. But if you like the first book in the Crescent City series, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas, then I think that you will also enjoy These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. So I've talked about the kind of connection between these before, but the first in the Crescent City series basically follows this half-fae, half-human main character named Bryce, who, because of some stuff that happens in her past, she has a personal connection to this murder mystery situation that's happening in the city, and so she basically gets tasked by the governor to help out with the case, and she gets assigned to this guy named Hunt, who is a fallen angel, to kind of help her out as she's investigating, but also to protect her. Then the other one, These Violent Delights, this one follows, is kind of a reimagining, if you will, of the Romeo and Juliet story. We follow two rival gangs in Shanghai, and then people all over the city just start dying. And it's not just like one gang or the other gang, like it's people from both gangs. So our two main characters, who used to have a thing but don't have a thing really anymore, team up. They are both just the daughter and the son of the kind of like the main guys of both of these gangs team up to kind of figure out what's going on. So while these two probably sound crazy different, to me they're very similar because of the kind of world building that both of these authors have done for these respective worlds. They both take place in a city of sorts, and they're both revolving around some sort of drug, some sort of substance, something that's kind of making these things happen in their cities. And it's also kind of a hate to love, in a sense, a little bit from both of our main characters. So it's mostly vibe, it's mostly world building, it's a little bit of plot that are really similar to me and these, but I was getting like crazy Crescent City vibes when I was reading These Violent Delights. So I feel like if you enjoy the world in one, you're definitely going to enjoy the world in the other. The next pairing is If You Like the Bells by Danielle Clayton. I think you're also going to like Malice by Heather Walter. So these are both the first in a series. The Bells has two out right now. I think there's possibly a third, but I'm not 100% sure about that one. And Malice is the first of a duology, and the second one is coming out, I believe, later this year. So The Bells takes place in a French-inspired world where there are these people called bells, and they basically can transform someone's outward appearance in any way that they want. And so they're set up in these houses, and they're kind of come to these people, lots of people with lots of money come to these houses to make them prettier, basically. And then you've also got Malice, which is placed in a world where there are graces, and these graces each have a different ability. They're all kind of set up in houses as well, and people come to them for one thing or another. Some graces are beauty graces, some graces are wisdom graces, so whatever you are specifically looking for, you go to them for that. And our main character is actually a dark grace, so you go to her for curses and things like that, and she is the only one, I think, in the city at this time. So while these are two very different stories, they do have that similar, you know, someone who can do something magical, but they're set in a home and people go to them for help. And there's also a royalty aspect to both of these stories where both of our main characters get tied up in the royal family in some way. So for me, it's definitely a kind of setting thing with our main characters, lesser than a plot thing. But I do think that if you like one of these, then you're definitely going to like the other one. The next one is for my winter middle grade lovers out there, and that is If You Like Green Glass House by Katie Milford. Then I think that you are also going to enjoy Winter House by Ben Gooderson. So I read Winter House earlier this year, actually, and I read this one a couple of years ago. But Green Glass House takes place at an inn, and it follows our main character Milo, who is on winter break. It's Christmas break, and he's expecting there to be not a whole lot of people, because not a lot of people come up to the inn, which is kind of, it's got some more shady characters that come to it. And then all of a sudden these people just start showing up and actually coming to stay when it's usually out of season for them to stay. And so he teams up with a friend that he makes at this house to kind of get to know what's going on, why all these people have started showing up. And then Winter House follows this girl who has grown up in a not particularly loving household. She has lost both of her parents, and she lives with her aunt and uncle who don't really like her all that much. And then she's sent one Christmas to spend the Christmas in this place called Winter House. And as she gets there, she's discovering some interesting creatures and characters, not creatures, interesting characters that are at this house, and really starting to question some things. She's learning some stuff about her past as well. So both of these are really good reads for like the whimsical winter vibe. They do both take place at Christmas time, but there's not a whole lot about them that is specifically Christmas. There's a lot about them that is snowy and wintry, but like beyond the fact that it's like, oh, it's Christmas Day, we had dinner. Beyond that, there's really not a whole lot that is specifically Christmas specific. So I think these are good to read anytime in the winter if you would like, but they both have these main characters who are in an inn during snow, during the Christmas break, that are trying to figure out some things that are going on, and it's all related to some of the guests that are in the place that they are staying. So it is a mystery of sorts. There is more fantastical, there's a couple of fantastical things that happen in Winter House. Green Glass House is less fantastical, but it does have some elements to it. So I think those are both good for, you know, whichever one sounds good to you, but they do have very similar plot lines. So if you liked one, then I think you would enjoy the other one. And the next two are ones that you've heard me talk about so much on the channel. It's not going to be a surprise to see them, but that is If You Like to Have Into Hoax by Martha Waters, or anything in this Regency Vows series. Then I think you're going to enjoy Breaking Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore, or anything else in her Extraordinary Women's series. So these are both historical romances with a little more substance. This one in particular follows our main two characters who have been married for 5 years. After a year in, they have this huge fight and don't talk to each other for years. And then something happens, and our main character falls off a horse. His wife thinks that he is like gravely injured, goes to see what's going on, finds out that he's totally fine, just sprained his ankle a little bit, and decides to get him back, even though he didn't really do anything in the first place. And so it's them like outsmarting each other as they fall back in love with each other. And we have Bringing It Down the Duke, which is the first in a series of 4 that each follow these different women in a friend group. And this one specifically follows Annabelle, and she goes to Oxford for, I think she's one of the first women to go to Oxford, and she gets a scholarship through the suffragette chapter in Oxford. And she also has to go and do some stuff with the suffragette movement, which she has no problem doing. And so one of the things is to get influential men to kind of be part of this cause. And so she gets her sights set on this Duke, and they end up keep running into each other, and it's the two of them at this time when things happen. And that's the respective romances within both of these. Now I would say the entire series as a whole is a good comparison, because the writing styles in both of these are very similar in the sense of you're really sucked in to the romances that happen in here, but both authors have a very kind of humorous writing style, if you will. I would say Martha Waters is a little bit funnier in some of her instances. I would say her banter is like on point, but a lot of the times, like in Bringing Down the Duke and A Rogue of One's Own, there were many times where like the banter between our main characters reminded me so much of like my feelings when I was reading To Have Into Hoax. So I think if you enjoy either of these authors, or either anything in these, like anything that sounds good in either of these series, I would highly recommend. They're both series of like companion novels that follow a bunch of different women in this specific friend group, and I highly recommend these two writers. I think they're just really good. And that is it. That is what I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed my If You Like This, Then You Like This video. Let me know if you'd like to see more like this. I have a couple ideas of doing things like if you like this TV show, you would like this book, and vice versa. So let me know if that's something you'd be interested in, or if you like seeing videos like this. Let me know your thoughts down below. And if you want to comment something but you're not sure what to comment, oh, comment like a snowflake. I know it's almost spring, but I talked about winter things, so comment a snowflake. But if you liked this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so don't forget to check all of that out, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!